So after the Season 1 Reloaded update, we got some changes to some of the close range weapons in this game, and in this video we're going to be going over what are the 5 best close range weapons you can use inside Warzone 2.0. Also, quick side note, whilst I was recording this video, there was a patch released to reduce the cost of weapons inside the buy station to $2,500. Starting off with the FENNEC, this has one of the fastest close range TTKs in the game, and therefore is going to be a solid choice when it comes to close range weapons, of course. Now, I don't really think you need suppressors on these kind of guns, to be honest. If you're point blank range, the player's going to know where you are, and the likelihood is they're going to call you out to their teammates as well. So for the most part, you don't really need a suppressor. But when it comes to the best build for this gun in particular, I do think the Bruin Warrior grip or the Merc grip or the Pineapple grip, all 3 of these grips do very similar things. I've just been trying them all out. The Merc grip I've been using for the longest time. The Pineapple grip also works really well. All 3 of them pretty much do the exact same thing for the most part. So you can choose whatever one you like and basically tune it similar to what we're going to show you in just a moment. The 45 round mag on the FENNEC is an absolute must. You definitely need this on the gun because it runs through ammo like rapid, and I do think the 45 rounds is actually too small as well, to be honest, so that's a whole nother story for a different day. The FENNEC rubber grip is going to give you better sprint to fire speeds and aim down sight speeds. I do think this is very useful for this build overall. Now, if you do need a bit more recoil control, you can actually go for the FENNEC stipple grip, but I do think the rubber grip's the better option for this weapon in particular. We are using the stock or the Loctite stock, and this is going to give you sprint speed and aim down sight speed and crouch movement speed, which isn't too important. But what I've found in this game is if you are trying to play up, crouching for some reason is still a little bit faster than moving around if you do have quite a speedy gun out. So that's something I actually want to test, but for now, the build for this gun in particular is going to be the Loctite stock. And then we are using the ULO laser. Now, on screen just now, you will see the attachment tuning for this weapon as well. And just quickly going over the fact that I do think the 45 round mags do need a bit of a buff, to be honest, because you do run out of ammo on this weapon super quick. So I do think they should up this maybe like 50 rounds just to make it a little bit better and be able to take out multiple opponents with one mag. Next up, we've got the Lachmann Sub, which is basically the MP5 and my favorite SMG to use in this game at the moment. I do think is another really aggressive choice, so if you do like to play close range, close quarters, have good movement speed, then this is another similar choice to the FENNEC. TTKs are again very good on this gun as well. So when it comes to the attachment, Bruin Warrior grip, once again, we'll show you the attachment tuning in just a moment, but this is going to give you the recoil control when it comes to recoil steadiness, and then it also gives you hip fire accuracy, which is the main reason I use these grips. But again, you can use the Merc grip or the Pineapple grip if you don't have this one unlocked. They all do the same thing. ULO laser in this case for better hip fire accuracy. You can choose the 7mW. This will also be really good for better aim down sight times. I don't really think you need it, especially with the stockless mod on there, which is what I do have equipped. Now, this is going to con your recoil quite a bit, so this is going to be like a super close range gun. You can't really use it for anything past like, I'd say 20 meters, and even then you'll be struggling for the most part. So if you do want something with a bit more control, you can go for the mobile stock instead and tune that to your liking, because it will give you a bit more control back in your weapon. But I prefer the stockless mod. I just think the extra movement speed is definitely a must in this game in general. Then we do have the Lachmann grip, which is the one that's going to help with recoil control. Since we're using the stockless mod, it's going to basically con your recoil to the point where we do need to use this attachment. Now, it doesn't give you a huge amount of benefit to recoil control, and you'll see the attachment tuning on screen just now. But again, it's going to help a little bit when it comes to recoil benefits there. 50 round drum mags is an absolute godsend when it comes to the larger game modes, so like trios and quads. If you are playing solos, you can do the 40 round mags. That will work perfect in solos, give you a bit more movement speed. Next up, you'll see a gun that actually got nerfed with the Season 1 Reloaded update, and they reduced the hip fire spread. They also increased the movement speed and increased the fire damage, so it kind of got a nerf and a buff. But I was talking about the hip fire build on this gun for the longest time when it comes to the VEL-46, because it was absolutely insanely broken, and if you built for hip fire accuracy, you could pretty much beam people at like 20 meters with it, which was absolutely insane. But now obviously you need to change that build a little, because You can't really hip fire as well as you could before, but it does do a bit more damage than it did before, so it's still going to be a solid choice. Now, obviously other guns got changed, and you'll see the patch notes on screen as well, so you can get a rough idea of the close range weapons that were adjusted. But when it comes to the build, the first thing is we've got the Bruin Warrior grip once again, so that's going to give you the hip fire accuracy, because we are still leaning more towards hip fire when it comes to these builds. It just means that you don't really need to waste your time aiming down sights with these guns, because at close range you basically need every possible advantage you can get. And that is why I do like to go for a slightly more hip fire build. We are using the ULO laser, but again you could use the 7mm laser. Both are solid options, it just depends on personal preference here. I like the ULO for the hip fire accuracy. We're using the demo RXT stock. It's going to give you crouch movement speed and sprint speed, and then also the combat grip, which gives you recoil control. And this gun is going to have a bit more control than the previous two at those longer distances, so you should be able to use this at that 20 to 30 meter range. Nothing really past that, to be honest. You should have an assault rifle, but for the most part this is one of those weapons that can perform well at those kind of longer ranges. And then the 50 round mags is definitely more than enough when it comes to even trios and quads. 60 is absolutely overkill in my opinion. If you really need it, then you can use it, but I don't really think the most average player would even need this. And then the standard base mags on this gun is actually 40 rounds, which is more than enough for solos. So if you only play solos exclusively, I would recommend not putting a mag on here at all. I do want to show you the VEL-46 in the firing range when it comes to hip fire accuracy. It's still probably the most accurate gun when it comes to hip fire. Now, we've not fully built this for hip fire accuracy, but as you can see, even at that 20 meter mark, we're still landing shots. It was even more accurate than this before, of course, but as you can see, it's still the most accurate hip fire weapon. So if you are looking for that kind of gun, then the VEL-46 is the best choice. Next up, we've got another gun that got adjusted with the Season 1 Reloaded update. Now, it didn't really get nerfed massively, and that's the reason why it still makes this list, because at close range, it's still one of the best guns in the game. If you've tried out the ground loot for the 74U, then you'll absolutely know why it's a solid choice. Now, when it comes to the attachments, you've got the Bruin Warrior grip once again for the hip fire accuracy and all that good stuff. We do have the true TAQ grip this time for the sprint to fire speed and the aim down sight speed. This is an assault rifle, well, within the game anyway, and basically we do need to speed this weapon up a little bit more. We are using the Markiv stock, or the Makriv stock, or however you call this, and this is again going to help with the movement speed. Now, the stock list does not do this gun justice whatsoever. I would not recommend it, and the Markiv R7 is the way to go for movement speed. We are using the Grimeline laser for the hip recoil control and the hip fire accuracy. Again, you can use something that's going to give you better ADS, which is going to be the ULO. Both are solid choices, to be honest. It's going to come down to personal preference with that one. Again, you'll see the attachment tuning on screen just now for this weapon. And the 45 round mags, again, I would personally, even if you are playing trios and quads, play without the 45 round mag, especially because this is going to be more of a close range build. And it will give you a bit more movement speed back in your weapon. And to be honest, the damage per mag on this gun is actually pretty good, even in Warzone, to be fair. I don't really know why it's that good, but it is still really good. So you don't necessarily need the 45 round mag unless you're using this as a sniper support. Last but not least, we have the Vaznev 9K. Now, I do think the Vaznev, again, not only being a great sniper support choice, but for close range, a lot of people are choosing this as their main weapon, and for good reason. It's all round probably the most balanced SMG in the game, and I think it's a solid choice when it comes to close range CTKs, being able to have that control at distance, and then also just in general, like I said, it's probably the most balanced. Now, we are using the Bruin Warrior grip once again for the hip fire accuracy, recoil control, recoil steadiness. You can also go for the OLE laser, or you can go for the Grimeline laser, or any of the lasers are pretty much a good choice, to be fair, for the most part, especially if they're going to help with hip fire accuracy or aim down sight time. Then we are using the Markiv stock once again for the movement speed and the sprint speed, and again, this is overall going to be a solid choice. And then we've got the Demo X2 grip to give you the recoil control, and I do think you actually need this grip for the Vaznev 9K. because it does kind of wobble side to side a little, and having that extra control, even though the rear grips don't give you a ton of control, they do give you a little bit more control than they did before with the Season 1 Reloaded update with the buff to tuning. Again, you'll see the attachment tuning on screen just now, but the 45 round mags are an absolute must on this weapon. I don't really think you could use this gun without the 45 round mags, to be perfectly honest. You might get away with it in solos, but even then, I feel like you do need that 45 rounds because the damage per mag on this gun is not great. So that is why I would recommend it. Now, if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 50k, and thank you very much for watching.